The rise of a genius. It was the golden age of American tech startups, a time when innovation was worshipped and ambition could turn anyone with a good pitch deck into a millionaire. Investors were hungry for the next big thing, and the media celebrated every young founder as the future of Silicon Valley. Amid that feverish excitement stood Charlie Javice, a 29-year-old entrepreneur whose name was quickly becoming synonymous with success. To her peers, she wasn't just smart, she was fearless. To investors, she was the embodiment of the American dream. Young, driven, and armed with an idea that promised to make higher education fair for everyone. In 2017, Javice founded Frank, a financial aid platform aimed at helping college students navigate the complicated U.S. loan system. She called it the TurboTax for student loans. The concept was simple, yet brilliant: streamline financial aid forms, personalize recommendations, and help millions of students claim aid they might otherwise miss. The mission was noble, and so was the story behind it. She told interviewers she wanted to level the playing field for low-income students. Frank was featured in Forbes Incorporated and Fortune. Reporters praised her as a trailblazer for women in tech. Universities endorsed her platform. Students trusted her brand. By 2019, Frank's growth story seemed unstoppable. The company claimed millions of users and a presence in nearly every U.S. state. Javice appeared on Forbes' 30 Under 30 list, her photo framed beside other rising stars. But behind the success was a different reality. The user base was far smaller than it appeared. Growth had stalled, competition was increasing, and venture capital funds were tightening. Yet, Javice continued to project confidence. She knew that in the world of startups, perception was often more valuable than truth. Then, opportunity knocked in the form of JPMorgan Chase, the largest bank in the United States. The bank was seeking new ways to connect with younger customers, and Frank's alleged 4.25 million student users looked like a goldmine. Javice played her role perfectly. The poised young founder meeting executives twice her age, speaking in polished corporate language, dazzling them with numbers and potential. For months, lawyers and bankers reviewed her data. Each spreadsheet, each presentation, told the same story: Frank was huge, profitable, and ready to scale with JP Morgan's resources. What the bank didn't realize was that the numbers it was looking at were too perfect to be real. When JP Morgan requested proof of Frank's user base, Javice allegedly panicked. According to federal filings, Frank had records for roughly 300,000 real users, not the 4 million she boasted about. So she took a shortcut, one that would destroy everything she'd built. She hired a data scientist, paying him tens of thousands of dollars to generate a massive fake user list. Each name had a fake birth date, a fake email address, even fake school affiliations. The datasets looked authentic enough to fool algorithms and analysts. She later claimed that her lawyers advised it was acceptable to anonymize data, but the truth was far darker. When the numbers landed on JP Morgan's desk, the dealmakers were thrilled. They saw potential customers worth billions in future revenue. In September 2021, the acquisition was finalized. JP Morgan paid $175 million to buy Frank and welcomed Charlie Javice as a vice president within the company. It was a fairy tale ending, at least for the moment. Business outlets called her the woman changing the face of finance. She appeared at conferences and panels, speaking about entrepreneurship and innovation. But in private, anxiety began to gnaw at her. She knew the data could be checked at any time. She knew one routine audit could expose everything. And when that audit finally came, it would not only end her career, it would make her one of the most infamous figures in white-collar crime history. The fall of the fraud. The unraveling began in silence, not with headlines, but with bounced emails. In early 2022, JP Morgan's marketing division launched a campaign to reach Frank's users with new student banking offers. Millions of emails were sent out, but within hours, nearly all of them failed. The addresses didn't exist. The students weren't real. What began as mild confusion inside JP Morgan quickly escalated into alarm. Something didn't add up. A special internal audit team dug deeper into Frank's database. They discovered inconsistent timestamps, missing metadata, and identical addresses linked to multiple users. The more they searched, the clearer it became. The entire user list had been fabricated. In December 2022, JPMorgan filed a federal lawsuit accusing Charlie Javice of fraud. The complaint alleged she lied about the scale and success of her company to induce the sale. Within weeks, the story hit major U.S. news outlets. The woman once praised as a fintech prodigy was now the center of a multi-million-dollar scandal. The FBI and U.S. Department of Justice opened criminal investigations. Agents seized hard drives, subpoenaed emails, and interviewed former employees. Among them was the data scientist she had hired who confirmed he had been paid to invent users. He provided chat logs and payment records. In one exchange, Javice allegedly asked if he could generate data that looked authentic enough for a third-party verification. The evidence was overwhelming. In April 2023, Charlie Javice was arrested in New Jersey and charged with wire fraud, bank fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy, all major federal crimes. She pleaded not guilty, claiming that JPMorgan was scapegoating her for its own lack of due diligence. Still, prosecutors painted a damning picture. A young CEO who wanted fame so badly she manufactured an empire. They argued she had built her reputation not on innovation, but on illusion, selling air to America's biggest bank. The trial began in March 2025 in the Southern District of New York, the same courtroom where major corporate criminals like Bernie Madoff once stood. The courtroom was packed journalists, former employees, curious students, and financial analysts. Prosecutors presented emails, contracts, and data models that exposed the scheme step by step. A former Frank engineer testified that employees were pressured to make the numbers work, no matter how unrealistic they were. Another witness, an investor, broke down in tears, admitting he had believed in Javice's dream and lost everything. The defense tried to argue that JPMorgan rushed the acquisition and ignored warning signs. They claimed the company knew the user count was inflated, but pushed the deal through anyway for publicity. But the jury saw through it. After a 5-week trial, the verdict came: guilty on all counts. On September 29, 2025, Charlie Javice stood before Judge Jennifer Rashawn as the sentence was read. 85 months in federal prison, roughly 7 years. She was also ordered to forfeit millions in assets and pay restitution to JPMorgan. As she was led away, the cameras flashed. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. "What do you have to say to the students you claim to help? Do you regret it?" She didn't answer. Her story dominated headlines for weeks. Some called her the female Bernie Madoff. Others saw her as a symptom of a broken startup culture, a world where appearance mattered more than truth, and where investors often looked the other way as long as the numbers looked good. Even in prison, her case sparked debate. Was Charlie Javice a criminal mastermind, or simply a product of Silicon Valley's pressure to fake it until you make it? The answer depends on how you define success. For the students Frank claimed to serve, her crime felt personal. She had built her image on their struggles, promising to make college affordable, and instead, she used that mission as the foundation for deceit. For the corporate world, it was a wake-up call. If the largest bank in the United States could be fooled by one startup founder, who else could? The Javice scandal now stands as one of America's most infamous white-collar crimes, a story not about violence or theft in the traditional sense, but about manipulation, greed, and misplaced trust. The woman once celebrated as a symbol of innovation became a warning. That even in glass towers and polished offices, crime doesn't always wear masks sometimes. It wears a business suit. The woman behind the $175 million U.S. bank scam is not just a story about one entrepreneur's fall from grace. It's a mirror reflecting America's obsession with success at any cost. It shows how the pursuit of power and recognition can twist noble intentions into deception, and how, in the end, truth always finds its way to the surface.